There's a certain kind of woman who doesn't need to scream to be remembered. Her silence speaks louder than the loudest voices. Her presence lingers in a man's mind long after she's gone, like a perfume he can't wash off, like a shadow he can't outrun. She is not the one who texts him 20 times. She is not the one who waits for him to call. She is not the one who is forgotten the moment he closes the door. No, she is the one he can't escape, even in his dreams. Have you ever felt like you were too available, too eager to please? Like you were the background in someone else's story, when deep down you know. You were born to be the main character. If that's the case, I need you to understand something with absolute clarity. You were never meant to beg for attention. You were never meant to be silenced. You were meant to haunt him, to captivate him, to disturb his sleep not with your absence, but with the weight of your essence. This isn't a fantasy. This is a science, and the women who master it never go unnoticed. Cleopatra didn't seduce with looks. She seduced with presence, with a kind of mental, emotional, and energetic power that made men forget their kingdoms. That's the woman we're bringing back today. Not a version of you that chases, but the version that commands. You are about to learn exactly how to become the woman a man thinks about in board meetings, in the middle of a date with someone else, in the stillness of the night. The kind that imprints herself on his psyche so deeply that even when he tries to move on, you've already taken root in his subconscious. This video is not about tricks. It's about strategic feminine power, about reclaiming what's yours, your mystery, your elegance, your control. And let's be real. In a world where women are constantly told to tone it down, to not be too much, to be easy, sweet, convenient, it takes audacity to be unforgettable. To walk into a room and make heads turn without saying a word. To hold your own gaze in the mirror and know you are not asking for attention. You are the center of gravity. He doesn't orbit you because you pull him. He orbits you because you are the sun. And once he gets a taste of that energy, he'll never find it again. In this video, you're going to unlock 3 strategic secrets that make a woman inescapable. Not clingy, not desperate, but sovereign. A force that reshapes a man's memory of love, power, and longing. Once you integrate these principles, he'll feel you in ways he can't explain, and no other woman will measure up. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, are you ready to stop being the echo he forgets, and become the voice he hears even in his dreams? If your answer is yes, prove it. Drop a comment below and say, I'm ready to be unforgettable. That one sentence will be your declaration. And the rest of this video, it will be your blueprint. There's a reason you've felt invisible. A reason why you gave everything, your time, your attention, your softness, and still weren't enough. Why you tried to be understanding, to not overwhelm him, to give space and be easy, and still, he pulled away. Maybe he ghosted. Maybe he stayed, but became cold. Maybe he said you were too intense, too emotional, or the worst of all, too much. And still, you kept shrinking, hoping that being less would make him stay more. But here's the truth. No one had the courage to tell you before. You were never too much. He was simply never ready for a woman who owns herself so completely. Most women were never taught how to hold power without guilt. They were taught to be chosen, not to choose. To wait for a man's validation, instead of generating their own worth. But let me ask you, when did Cleopatra ever wait for someone to give her permission? When did she ever question if she was worthy? She was the storm, the strategy, the seduction. Not because she was trying to be loved, but because she already loved herself so fiercely that her presence became a standard, not a suggestion. And that's exactly where this channel comes in. We're not here to teach you how to play small games for temporary attention. We're here to teach you how to build a legacy of feminine power, a way of existing that rewires the way a man experiences intimacy. You won't have to chase. You won't have to beg. You won't even have to explain. When you embody this energy, you become the question he can't stop asking, even when you're not around to answer it. In this video, I'm going to show you how to unlock that version of you. The one who walks into a room and owns it. The one who speaks, and people lean in. The one who doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard, because her presence alone demands attention. You will discover how to reverse the dynamic. Instead of wondering if he'll call, he'll wonder if he ever stood a chance. Instead of losing sleep over him, he'll be the one tossing and turning, wondering why nothing else compares to you. And the beauty of it is, this power is already inside of you. It's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about shedding the false layers, the approval-seeking, the over-giving, the fear of being abandoned, and revealing the woman who was buried underneath all along. The woman who knows who she is, and more importantly, who she refuses to be anymore. So before we dive into the 3 powerful secrets that will shift your energy permanently, I want you to do something bold. Subscribe to this channel. Not for me, for you. Because this isn't entertainment. This is empowerment. And if you stay until the end, you'll leave this video with tools that most women will never learn, because they're too afraid to leave the comfort of being ordinary. But you're not here to be ordinary. You're here to become unforgettable. To understand why becoming unforgettable is not only possible, but necessary. You must first see clearly the game you've been unconsciously playing. You've been trained, not by malice, but by repetition, to believe that love must be earned, that attention must be negotiated, that your value is something you need to constantly prove. From childhood, you were told to be nice, to avoid conflict, to not make others uncomfortable. You learned to smile when you wanted to scream. You learned to say, "It's okay," when your soul was begging you to walk away. And eventually, you mistook survival for love. But here's the truth. That version of love, the one where you shrink, suppress, and silence yourself just to be tolerated, is not love. It's emotional starvation wrapped in societal conditioning. And the worst part is, it keeps you small, predictable, safe. It makes you the kind of woman he respects, but forgets. The kind who blends into the background because she never dared to step forward and be fully seen. But not every woman accepts this. Some wake up. Some break the spell. Some stop chasing love and start commanding respect. That's what separates the woman he silences from the woman he dreams about. Cleopatra was not remembered because she was agreeable. She was remembered because she was inevitable. She didn't whisper to be accepted. She spoke to be obeyed. Her legacy wasn't built on being chosen by men. It was built on choosing herself so completely that kings and generals adjusted their empires around her. And that's what this energy teaches you to embody. Not imitation, but initiation into a version of you that doesn't chase attention, because she is the attention. In today's world, we've confused seduction with performance. Filters, angles, rehearsed text messages. Women are trying to go viral in a man's life, short, flashy, forgettable. But virality fades. What you want is imprint. You want to become the slow burn he can't escape. The thought he returns to when everything else feels dull. The woman who planted a seed so deep in his emotional soil that no other love can bloom the same way. That's what real seduction is. Not a performance, but a presence. Not about convincing him to stay, but becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need to ask. Because when you walk in full alignment with your essence, men feel it on a cellular level. Your energy creates contrast. And contrast, psychologically, is what the male brain remembers most. Studies in behavioral neuroscience show that when someone experiences a stimulus that sharply contrasts from the norm, the brain creates a stronger emotional memory. That's why the women who are forgettable all share the same pattern. They play safe, follow trends, and fear rejection more than invisibility. But the woman who's unforgettable, she's a disruption. She awakens his nervous system. She breaks his patterns. She introduces a frequency he didn't know he was starving for. And this has nothing to do with beauty. It has everything to do with intention. A woman with a clear, energetic standard, one who knows how to speak without begging, how to listen without absorbing, how to walk away without crumbling, is a psychological anomaly in a world drowning in performance. That anomaly creates impact. That impact becomes memory. And memory becomes power. So if you've ever wondered why the nice girl always gets overlooked, it's because she's replaceable. But the woman who knows who she is, deeply, unapologetically, without asking for approval, becomes impossible to unsee. She becomes the blueprint against which every other woman is silently compared. This channel isn't just here to give you information. It's here to give you transformation. We're not offering temporary tactics or manipulative tricks. We're offering you the keys to feminine power that were hidden, denied, and distorted. And in the next sections, you will learn how to wield that power with precision. You'll see exactly why your presence is your most dangerous weapon, and how to sharpen it until it cuts through every layer of resistance, doubt, and forgetfulness. So if you're still watching, you're not here by accident. You're here because something inside you remembers. Remembers that you were never meant to be forgotten. That your softness is not weakness. That your silence is not submission. That your magnetism is not manipulation. It's your nature. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unleashed. And now we begin. The first secret to becoming the kind of woman he can't escape, even in his dreams, is this: emotional echo. What is an emotional echo? It's the invisible imprint you leave on a man's nervous system when you don't just enter his life. You shift it. It's not what you said. It's how you made him feel about himself, about the world, and about you, all at once. Emotional echo is what remains long after you've walked away. It's the lingering feeling that haunts him at 2 a.m. It's the pause in his chest when he hears a song, smells your perfume, or sees a woman who reminds him of your stare, but none of it is you. And that contrast? It drives him insane. Let me be clear. Most women are loud when they're present and silent when they're gone. But a woman who understands emotional echo is the opposite. She doesn't need to be loud at all, because her absence is deafening. That's what makes her unforgettable. That's what makes him replay every moment, every look, every word. And the key to creating that echo? Stillness, precision, scarcity. Let me explain with a story. There was once a woman named Nora. She wasn't the most beautiful. She didn't try to be, but she had an elegance about her. The way she moved, the way she smiled with restraint, the way she said just enough and then pulled back. Every conversation with her felt like it could vanish at any moment, like a silk curtain caught in the wind. She didn't overshare. She didn't perform. And when she looked at you, she did it like she already knew you'd remember her forever. Men didn't understand what she did to them. They just knew they craved her. But it wasn't Nora they craved. It was the space she left behind. That is the emotional echo in its most dangerous form. Now, here's the psychology behind it. Human beings do not crave what is given freely. We crave what we almost have, what touches us and then slips through our fingers. The Zeigarnik effect, a phenomenon in psychology, proves that the human brain retains incomplete experiences far more intensely than completed ones. The conversation you almost had, the kiss that didn't happen, the message left unread. Those are the memories that burn themselves into the brain. And when a woman understands this, when she understands how to create intentional incompleteness, she becomes addictive. Not because of what she gives, but because of what she withholds, with grace. But withholding without presence is just coldness. Emotional echo is not about being distant. It's about being deliberate. Every word you speak, every glance you offer, every moment of silence, it all has weight. Cleopatra was a master of this. She knew that mystery wasn't about hiding. It was about offering herself in layers. She gave just enough to spark desire, but never enough to satisfy it. She remained an unfinished story in the mind of every man who crossed her path. And unfinished stories always get reread, reimagined, replayed. So how do you apply this? Stop over-explaining. Speak slower. Make him wait before answering. Don't always be available. But more than anything, start seeing your silence as a strategy, not a weakness. When you leave a room, leave a scent, a feeling, a question. Don't say everything. Let your energy do the talking. And this applies in every context. Texting, dating, even long-term relationships. Most women kill mystery by filling every silence with reassurance, by giving too much too fast. But a woman who creates emotional echo doesn't fear the pause. She controls it. She lets him feel the space she occupies even when she's not there. She lets the silence become tension, not distance. And the more tension she creates, the more his imagination fills in the gaps, always with her. And now you understand why the first secret is not something you do. It's something you become. A frequency, a contrast, a storm that lingers in the air long after it's passed. You don't need to scream to haunt him. You need to master presence. And then vanish at the perfect moment. He'll chase the echo forever. So ask yourself, are you still trying to be remembered by what you give? Or are you ready to be remembered by what you leave behind? Because once you master this, once you perfect the art of creating emotional echo, you'll never have to convince a man to think of you again. He won't have a choice. Now that you understand the silent force of emotional echo, it's time to step into your next weapon. Verbal sovereignty. The art of speaking in a way that disarms, seduces, and establishes authority without ever raising your voice. Most women don't realize this, but the way you speak tells a man everything he needs to know about your self-worth. Your voice, your rhythm, your tone, your choice of words is a mirror of your identity. And if you don't control that mirror, someone else will decide what he sees. Verbal sovereignty is not about having the perfect script. It's about owning your emotional state before you open your mouth. It's about eliminating the nervous energy that makes you over-explain, over-apologize, or rush through your sentences. Why? Because speed screams insecurity. But stillness? Stillness commands the room. Let me give you an example. Picture two women walking into a dinner party. One speaks immediately, her voice high, her words pouring out, trying to connect, to please, to keep the energy flowing. She's charming, yes, but also easily forgotten. Then the other woman enters. She doesn't speak right away. She surveys the room. When she finally opens her mouth, she speaks slowly, with intention, with poise. Every sentence sounds like a choice, not a reflex. Heads turn, not because she's louder, but because she's rooted. This is the power of verbal sovereignty. It makes your words feel like currency, not noise. And once a man associates your voice with value, he listens differently. He leans in. He wonders what you're going to say next. Not because you're performing, but because your words carry weight. Now here's how you can start applying this today. 1. Speak less, say more. Avoid flooding conversations with details. You don't need to explain why you said no. No is a full sentence when spoken from a woman who respects herself. Let your silence punctuate your words. It makes them land harder. 2. Use the power of the lower register. The lower tones in your voice, when you drop into your body and speak from your diaphragm, are naturally perceived as more authoritative and seductive. Cleopatra understood this. She didn't shout to be heard. She lowered her voice, forcing her listeners to quiet down in order to hear her. That subtle shift made her voice magnetic. 3. Ask bold, unexpected questions. Instead of, "How was your day?" try, "What's something you thought about today but didn't say out loud?" Stop being polite. Start being penetrating. When you ask questions that pull emotion or mystery out of a man, you shift the power dynamic. He starts associating you with depth, and depth is addictive. 4. Embrace strategic silence. After you say something powerful, pause. Let it breathe. Most people panic and rush to fill silence, but a woman who can sit comfortably in it, she's playing at a different level. Silence, when intentional, becomes a throne. Here's the secret most don't tell you. Men don't fall in love with logic. They fall in love with tone, with the way a sentence makes them feel, with the way your voice lingers in the air after a conversation. When your verbal presence creates an emotional imprint, your words become something they return to in their head, again and again. This is how Cleopatra seduced minds before bodies. She didn't just say words, she crafted experiences. And in a time before texting, before constant contact, that kind of verbal memory was more powerful than any gift. Her voice became a trigger, one that could reignite desire across oceans. That is the blueprint. And you can follow it in every interaction you have, starting now. Whether it's a date, a call, or a casual moment. Stop trying to sound sweet. Start sounding sovereign. Sweetness fades. Sovereignty imprints. Let your words be slow. Let them be intentional. Let them be expensive. Like perfume and crystal, not perfume and plastic. That's how he'll treat you. That's how he'll remember you. Not as the woman who filled every silence, but the one who made silence sacred. So if you've ever felt like your words fall flat, or that men don't take you seriously, this is your turning point. Don't just speak to be heard. Speak to be felt. Speak like you're a queen. Because queens don't ask to be listened to. They speak, and the world adjusts its volume. Master this, and every man who hears you will start listening differently. He won't know why, but you will. The final transformation, the one that shifts you from a woman he remembers to a woman he can never replace, lies in your emotional sovereignty. It is the rarest trait, the least understood, and the most powerful, because it is what separates the women who are consumed by a man's presence from the women who command it. Emotional sovereignty means you are no longer defined by his actions, his moods, his absence, or his attention. You are no longer ruled by the chaos of, "What does he feel?" or "What does this mean?" Because you're no longer trying to read him. You're too busy reading yourself. You don't respond to breadcrumbs. You don't collapse when he withdraws. You don't overextend to keep him engaged. Instead, you become a mirror so clean, so untouchable, that he begins to question himself. Most women lose power, not because they don't have it, but because they keep giving it away emotionally. They give it to the man who's inconsistent, to the man who love bombs, then disappears, to the man who says, "I'm not ready," and yet keeps her on a leash. Emotional sovereignty is the decision to cut every leash. Not with anger, not with drama, but with elegance. With a calm certainty that says, "I don't chase, I choose." Cleopatra embodied this at her core. She didn't cling to men. Men clung to the version of themselves they felt in her presence. She didn't argue, didn't convince, didn't compete. Because the man who doesn't recognize your value is not a challenge. He's a misalignment. And a sovereign woman doesn't negotiate with misalignment. She exits. But here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop seeking validation, you become magnetic. When you stop begging to be chosen, you become unforgettable. Why? Because you're no longer in survival mode. You're in command mode. That kind of emotional regulation rewires your energy. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop bleeding emotions everywhere and begin directing them like a queen directs her army, with clarity, with purpose, with restraint. Let me tell you what happens to a man when he meets a woman like this. At first, he may not understand her. He might even resist her, because she doesn't play by the rules he's used to. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, and she doesn't fall apart when he pulls away. Instead, she withdraws with grace, and her absence feels like punishment. Not because she's trying to hurt him, but because her presence was so rich that without it, everything feels empty. And here's where the transformation completes. You stop existing in relation to him, and you start existing in devotion to yourself. Your mood no longer depends on his text. Your confidence no longer depends on his approval. Your softness is no longer a currency you trade for closeness. It's a gift, offered only to those who can hold it with reverence. This is the final secret. The woman who is unforgettable is not the loudest, not the most perfect, not the one who always gets it right. She is the one who is rooted in her boundaries, rooted in her self-worth, rooted in her ability to feel deeply without becoming unbalanced. So if you've been wondering why men forget you, or why they only come back when you've moved on, this is why. Because true feminine power requires distance to be felt. And the woman who is sovereign, she's always felt, whether she's in the room or long gone. From this point forward, you don't need to play a role. You don't need to prove your value. You are the value. You are the prize. And if a man doesn't recognize it, that's not rejection. That's divine protection. So breathe deep, stand tall, reclaim your crown. Because once you walk in emotional sovereignty, you'll never beg, chase, or shrink again, and no man will ever forget you. Now you know the truth. Unforgettable women are not born. They are built, brick by brick, layer by layer. Not from validation, not from approval, but from inner alignment, from a decision, a standard, a frequency. And today, you've uncovered 3 secrets most women will live their whole lives without ever realizing. First, you learn the art of emotional echo. How to imprint yourself so deeply on a man's nervous system that your absence speaks louder than your words. You now understand that seduction begins not when you enter a room, but when you leave one, and what remains of you. Second, you mastered verbal sovereignty, the power to speak like a queen. Slow, intentional, precise. No more filling silence with fear. From now on, your voice is currency, and every word is deliberate. Third, you stepped into emotional sovereignty, the throne from which a woman no longer negotiates with chaos. You no longer react to breadcrumbs. You no longer shrink when you're ignored. You remain centered, because you are the storm and the calm after it. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, who were you before this video? The woman who tried to please, who over-explained, who doubted herself every time a man's attention faded? She doesn't exist anymore. Not here. Not after this. From this moment forward, you don't walk into a room hoping to be seen. You walk in knowing you are already etched into the memory of anyone who had the privilege to encounter you. You no longer ask to be loved. You become the standard by which love is measured. You no longer chase, because you are now the gravity that pulls others in. But transformation only becomes real when it's embodied. So if this resonated with you, then do this. Stop scrolling and drop a comment below saying, "I am the woman he can't escape." That is not just a phrase. That is your declaration, your ritual, your imprint on this moment in time. If you want to go even deeper, subscribe to this channel right now. Because what we're building here isn't a community of women who wait to be chosen. We are the women who choose ourselves. Again, and again, and again. And every new video is another weapon, another layer, another reminder of who you truly are. Finally, I want you to click the link in the pinned comment. You'll be taken to a powerful quiz that will reveal the emotional block that's been silently sabotaging your ability to attract and keep the kind of man who worships your presence. It's 100% free, but it's not for everyone. Only take it if you're truly ready to face what's been holding you back. And to clear it, permanently. Remember this: the world does not need more women trying to be liked. The world needs more women who are unforgettable. And today, you became one of them. So walk like you own the air. Speak like your voice is ancient. And love yourself so fiercely that any man who enters your life knows it's a privilege, not a possession. This is not the end. This is your reign.